Hello, kindred spirits, and welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin, and today we are going to be exploring the main energies over the next 2 weeks, as well as a week-by-week energy forecast with the charms. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Alright, so welcome back, my beautiful kindred spirits, and anyone new who may be joining us here on the channel today. It's really wonderful to have you here. We are going to be looking into your next 2 weeks, as I mentioned, using the charms, using numbers, letters, the whole shebang. We're going to really get into the details and the nitty-gritty of it all. So if that's something you're interested in, stay tuned. But if you are interested in supporting the channel as well as supporting yourself through other ways, then definitely feel free to check out the snail mail readings that I do, where I send a letter to you in the mail, typewritten on a vintage typewriter, on any question or query on your mind for a tarot or charm reading. And also I have been offering creating custom magical stamps to use in your own art magic, your creativity, to use in your rituals and spells, or to use just in your planner for fun. So feel free to check out how you can get those yourself. Feel free to reach out through an email or an Instagram DM, as I would love to create more of those for you all. It is such a fun hobby of mine to carve custom stamps, and I love adding that extra art magic layer to it for you magical folks out there. So feel free to reach out if that's something you're interested in, or if you want to get a snail mail reading or any of the other offerings that I provide. So with that all said, let's go ahead and look at the piles here. So there are 3 different piles with 3 different charms on top for you to choose from. So here for pile number 1, if you're feeling called to this reading, then you might be feeling called to this little owl. So that is pile number 1. Here for pile number 2 is this little dragon. So if you're feeling called to this dragon, then that is pile number 2. And last but not least here for pile number 3 is this leaf. I think it's a monstera leaf, I'm not entirely sure, but it is a leaf nonetheless. So if you're feeling called to this one, that's pile number 3. So before you start heading off to the timestamps in your piles, I like to invite you to take a deep and cleansing breath here with me in a moment, so you can really connect with the piles, connect with your intuition. Feel free to call in your guides as well, but let's go ahead and take that deep breath together here now. And as always, there's no right or wrong way to choose your piles here. You can choose all 3 of the piles, you can choose a pile and change your mind, or you can take little bits from each of them. There really are no rules. All the timestamps will be down below in the description for each of the piles, as well as through the chapter marks of this video. And if you are interested in the different offerings that I talked about earlier with snail mail readings, custom stamps, magical art magic things, as well as getting your own custom charm casting mat, then feel free to check out all of the information on that down below through my link tree and my Instagram. So with that all said, I'm going to go ahead and get started here with pile number 1. Hello group 1, if you decide to choose this little owl, then this is the pile for you, as we are going to be exploring your next 2 weeks. We're going to be doing it with a week-by-week energy forecast with the charms here in a moment, but we're going to be starting out first with the letters and your number tiles, so we can really get a feeling of your next 2 weeks through the lens of those. So feel free to get yourself cozy and settled and comfortable for this. And as a reminder, always do feel free to use your own intuition, especially when I'm using such specific little tiles and charms, because there's always little things that I'm not going to pick up on that you're going to notice with your own intuition. So definitely feel free to see what comes forward for you. But we're going to be starting first with the letters, and the letters are going to be showcasing anything that's coming forward for oracle messages that we can sort of decipher here. But also you can see this as names, you can spell out street signs, you can spell out all sorts of things, and then you can also use it to look into any significant people with initials. So let's go ahead and get started with your letters. So feel free to send your energy into any and all of the different tools that we'll be using here today. And I forgot to mention, but all of the tools that we are using will be listed down below in the description. But let's get into it. We're starting off with a lot of vowels. So we have E, E, or you have U, J, T, and O, and then you also have another T. So we really only have 3 consonants to work with, and when I notice a ton of vowels coming forward, especially repeating vowels, it tells me that your communication over the next 2 weeks might be a bit more difficult to like get your words. You might be more fumbly. You might have a more difficult time trying to get your message across, whatever it may be that you're trying to communicate. So that could be that when you're trying to send out emails, make sure you double check, your spelling, make sure that you double check the intention that you're putting off and how it might be received, making sure that when you're translating things that you double check it, that kind of stuff, because you might be really good with nonverbal communication with the amount of vowels that you have here, but you have a harder time maybe communicating over texts, emails, things where things can get really easily lost with intention and your tone. So tone tagging could be useful. And when it comes to speaking like just with your voice to another person in a conversation, that also still applies as well to maybe think through your words a little bit more carefully. So if you have like really big public speaking, or you have situations where you have meetings, or you want to just really more effectively communicate with other people, making sure you really think through your words a little bit more carefully these next 2 weeks could be really useful. But when it does come to nonverbal communication, I think people are going to really pick up on, facial expressions or understand you on that level a little bit more. What can we spell here, though? We've got a lot of you, which tells me that you are maybe really focused on yourself over these next 2 weeks. There's things that you really want to focus on that are maybe driven towards your specific wants, needs, and goals, and kind of putting yourself first. We have not a ton that you can spell because of how it's shown up here, but you do have jet here, so maybe there is like maybe you're literally getting on a jet, or you're going on a plane, or you're going a longer distance drive or something like that, where you just like kind of have to jet off. But there also is a feeling too with jet that like a very fast moving next 2 weeks. Like things are just like you're jetting around, moving to this thing, moving to the next thing, taking your kids to soccer practice, heading over here, then you have to go to the meeting, then you got to go over there. So maybe really making sure that you're prepared for the kind of whiplash of moving back and forth between different tasks, different goals, different particular scheduled events, and making sure that you're not missing anything in between there as well. Maybe that's a reason why communication is a little bit more strained as well, because you maybe don't feel like you have as much time to think things through or to plan and make sure you're ready. So having a planner, having some sort of tool in order to support you when it comes to scheduling things could be really useful over the next 2 weeks, like a calendar or a planner on your phone or whatever you need. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys with that. There's really not a ton we can spell here, but feel free to see if there's something that I didn't notice that you did. And then we are going to move to your numbers. So similar to the letters, we're going to be looking into the numbers to see if there is any significant dates coming forward, if we have any numerological messages, repeating numbers that are useful to you, or spirit messages. So we're going to see with these. So the ones that you have 6 in orange, 5 in red, and 3 in orange. So you've got 63, 65, 36, 53, and 5 is a number of change. So there might be really big changes happening, ones that are maybe a little bit abrupt, or things you weren't expecting because you did have it in red. And then with the 6 and the 3, 6 represents harmony, and 3 represents collaboration, or working together with other people, or working together with different ideas bouncing off each other. So what it feels like is there might be changes happening within a sort of collaboration or community based projects that you're working on that go from like big changes, but it seems like harmony is going to come forward. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be something that's going to really negatively affect your life. It might just be that there's a little delay, or people aren't always on the exact same page, but you get back on the same page because of that 6. So I really feel like if you have any like big meetings or things that are going on there, it might have a couple of delays or things that you have to like kind of figure out, but it doesn't seem like it's going to make really big impacts or big waves over the next 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and see anything else by pulling a bigger tarot card. We're going to be pulling more tarot cards through the charms, but we're going to pull one specifically here from the Modern Witch Tarot to see if there is a specific major theme that's coming forward, sort of as a thread throughout the reading. So we're going to be seeing what the major themes and energies are for you for the next 2 weeks. So what is the major theme, repeating energy that's coming up most often for group 1 here for the next 2 weeks? Next 2 weeks for group 1 here. Sometimes they're hard to get out. Okay. Ooh, so you have the Queen of Wands. Yeah, so that makes sense with the harmony that I was talking about earlier, because the Queen of Wands is, the wand suit in general is very fast moving, but unlike the swords where it can be like super fast, almost can't keep up with it, this is like a moving train. It has a lot of like weight to it. It's really trying to like chug forward, get something going, and it has a lot of force and momentum and determination. And so when it comes to you for the next 2 weeks, it seems like you're in a very good leadership position. You have, you have your train in order. Things feel very efficient, like things are moving very efficiently. And so if you have any delays, if you have anything that kind of trips you up, even if it comes to that communication that I was talking about earlier, or that jet feeling of things coming in very quickly, very fast, it seems like you're going to be able to organize it, get things going, and get things right on the right path, the right track, very easily. So, or at least if it isn't easy, you're going to at least have the ability to get it back on the right path without a lot of finagling or feeling anxious about it. It seems like things feel more in your control. So I really like that you have that coming forward with the Queen of Wands. It's a really nice energy to have overarching, because it's, like I said, a very confident, determined, very fiery energy, and an energy that showcases a lot of confidence and a lot of purpose as well. So it feels like you bring a lot of value to the table, and you bring a lot of purpose to everything that you do. Like, it's very purposeful how you schedule things, how you get through things, what you chose and what you didn't, because you seem very confident in your choices. So I'm going to go ahead and move you to the rest of your reading, where we're going to pull some charms here on the charm mat. If you guys are interested in getting your own charm mat or cloth in your specific design, if you want it to be a circle, a square, different embroidery, different symbols, a different design entirely for how you cast your charms, then definitely feel free to reach out, because I would love to make one for you all. But the one that we're using here today is my classic one, where if anything falls here in the center, it's going to be related to that Queen of Wands or main energies coming forward. And then anything here on the left side is going to be related to week 1, and then the same for week 2 for the right. And then we'll talk about the moons individually if they show up. So let's start first with your tarot tiles. So these are going to give us the bigger context, and then we'll get the details with the charms overlaid. So let's start first with these. Feel free to really connect with them. And let's pull some for you. Okay, this one flew all the way over here, so I'm going to give it one more chance to see where it might land. Let's pull some charms, and we'll zoom in and really look at these in a moment to see the rest of the details. So again, feel free to really connect with these as well and have a little conversation with them, and we'll pull some for you. Okay, so you actually did get the plane. So lots of jet energy, a lot of moving around, a lot of quick movement. So let's start first with what you have in the center. So like I said, you already had the Queen of Wands going on over here, but you also have the 10 of Wands, as well as the 7 of Cups. And the 7 of Cups adds an interesting flavor to this 10 of Wands because of the way that it fell. So the 10 of Wands represents feeling a little overburdened or you just have like too much on your plate, which we talked about earlier, where you might have a lot going on in your life, but it seems like you've got it under wraps or under control to a certain point, or you feel more confident in it, or you'll feel more confident as you continue to kind of like bust through the next 2 weeks. But it does seem that the 10 of Wands sometimes can also represent just needing to like push through, finish something, get it done. And so sometimes where the 10 of Wands can feel like a lot, like you're just like, oh my god, I'm overburdened, I'm holding all of these wands, it's too much. I'll go ahead and zoom you in a little bit closer, but it's too much, it's a lot to carry. It seems like you are really good at kind of picking through it, figuring things out, because the 7 of Cups can represent where you kind of have to break things down into steps, and as you can see, they're like breaking it down into different steps and pieces. And so I really feel like you are breaking things down into different steps, taking it one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, one event at a time, and trying not to get yourself too overwhelmed or too overstretched. So taking it from that perspective, I think, is really useful. Time, again, is a really big point. We've got like the little time turner that I have here, which just kind of feels like an hourglass. So when I'm looking at this one, it makes me think, again, taking it 1 hour at a time, slowing things down and breaking it down into parts is a really big part of your next 2 weeks, because of how much might be showing up. And if you're looking at your events over the next 2 weeks and you're like, I've got nothing going on, I don't know what you're talking about, it can also just be that if it isn't events, it's just a lot of projects or a lot of new things that are just going to show up on your plate over the next 2 weeks that you're going to have to more confidently sort through. And so let's look at what you got going on for week 1 then. I'll zoom you out a little so you can see everything. But for week 1, you've got the mistletoe, you have the star, you have the bear claw charm, or bear paw, I believe. It's hard to read it anymore, but regardless, this one usually talks about if you're hibernating or not, and this is in the action part of the bear, so it's the bear's not hibernating anymore. And then you've got the tree. This immediately made me think of family events or like a family tree, but it can also just be related to your community as well, like an outreach, a network, or a system that you're working in, a community event. So it seems like when it comes to your community or to your family, that there's some action that is needed there in the first week, something that you can't put off anymore, something that can't be hibernated anymore. Or maybe you're just going to literally see family, see these people within your community, and being active in some way when it comes to that. When it comes to how you're feeling, there's a lot of hope in your first week as well. There's a feeling of like flipping things over, feeling like something's turned to a new leaf, or feeling like a sense of hope or renewal is on the way in. And then you also have the mistletoe charm, or this is the holly. I know it's specifically holly, but my brain always goes to mistletoe for some reason, because they tend to be, together when you're at the holidays. So anyway, when I'm thinking of this one, though, it can also be that it's a holiday event, maybe a birthday or something, the reason why you're connecting. But because it showed up more near the star, this usually represents something that feels like mistletoe can be sort of very straining on the plant that it's growing on, usually, trees. And so it kind of is showcasing something that's straining or draining something, or draining, energy from you. And it seems that something that's been very draining these last 2 weeks is maybe, or even just since the beginning of the year, seems like it's starting to feel like hope or renewal is on the way in. As you move into week 2, you have the jet or the plane showing up here. So it could be that you're, again, really just jetting around or trying to get things done. There's a lot of stuff going on, so you're just like moving and buzzing like a little bee. Or I can also see this as literally traveling or moving somewhere. It doesn't have to necessarily mean traveling to like another country. It can just be like smaller travel, or just, little road trips or something like that. You also have, like I said, the 7 of Wands, as well as the Knight of Swords. So the Knight of Swords, like I talked about earlier, or just swords in general, but specifically the Knight of Swords, is very fast moving. So where not as much was happening in the first week, the second week with the plane and the Knight, you have a lot happening, and it seems again that you're very confident to be able to move through this, because you do have the defense of this card. This is very much a defense card, and it seems like you're very well equipped to be able to move through how quickly and fast moving the second week is going to be. And that's really nice to see. So those are all of the charms and cards that I have for you, group 1. I hope that this has been useful and helpful to you in navigating your next 2 weeks. And if it was, definitely be sure to give this video a like and let me know in the comments down below how you saw the reading, if there's something specific that you noticed. Oh, I've just realized we missed a section over here. Let's go ahead and look at it real quick. We've got the star again, as well as the taking a different path charm. So this usually represents taking a path less traveled by, and you have it on the last quarter moon, which is about letting things go. And so again, it really feels related to this, right? Something that's been straining you, you're taking a new path on, finding more hope from having done so, feeling more hopeful. So there's something that you're going to need to diverge and go a different way that you've been going and going and going. So maybe it's a cycle or repeated behavior that you're getting some new hope on by letting the previous behavior or the previous path go. So that's something else that I just noticed I hadn't looked at, so feel free to see how that comes forward. But if you did find this useful, definitely let me know. Let me know in the comments down below as well. And if you're interested in these pick a card readings, I put out new readings every single Monday that I think you'd really enjoy. And I also like to sprinkle in art magic ones as well as educational videos that I think you'd really enjoy as well on charm casting. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely feel free to subscribe. And if you're interested in all of the other different ways to support this channel through snail mail readings, custom charm mats, or getting your own custom magical and spiritual stamps that I carve myself, then definitely feel free to check out all the information for those and other things that I offer down below through my Instagram, where you can find more helpful reviews and more information over there. So with that all said, I'm going to go ahead and close off this reading. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello group 2, if you decide to choose this little dragon, then this is the pile for you, as we are going to be exploring your next 2 weeks to see what's coming in for you. We're going to be doing it with the charms, the numbers, letter tiles, as well as the tarot tiles and the Modern Witch Tarot, which I'll have this all listed down below in case you're curious what I'm using here today or want to reference it. But we're going to get right into it, as always with these ones, and see what you got going on for your next 2 weeks. And we're going to be starting first with the letter tiles. But before I talk about them, I just want to preface and remind you to definitely feel free to use your own intuition as we move through these piles, and feel free to send your own energy into each of the different charms and cards, because I really do think it makes a difference in how the reading really connects with you. But also, I think it's important to use your own intuition, especially when so many charms and interesting, very different oracle messages come forward, because there's sometimes things that I'm not going to pick up on because they're very individual to you that I think would be really useful to you to really look into. So feel free to really co-create this reading with me and see what comes forward. But we're going to start first with the charms, with the letters, and anything that comes forward with these are going to be usually oracle messages that we can spell, names and places, but also specific initials that are important to you. So let's go ahead and mix these up and see what you get. Okay, so you have first off J, Y, V, and A, as well as O, S, and G. So we only have 2 vowels here, which usually tells me when we have more consonants than vowels that although Y can kind of go either way. There's a pretty good balance here, but I would say that over the next 2 weeks that you might find that you're very direct with your messages, or when it comes to your communication style, you might find that some people feel like you're a little bit blunt or say things straight and very to the point, which can be very efficient and useful, especially in specific situations. But when it's something that needs to be a little bit more tender or a little bit more care is needed in the way that you approach people or approach a situation, that's something to consider when it goes to how you're communicating over the next 2 weeks. Other things that you have coming in here, it doesn't exactly say it, but it says like SAV, and I also got like Java when I first saw everything fall. We need another A, but and an E, but I don't know. I'm just getting like, you need to make sure that you save your like projects that you're working on your computer, or like say like because I was thinking of like JavaScript, or I was thinking of like, save files. And so my brain was just thinking, when it comes to technology or computers or things like that, really make sure that you are saving your documents over the next 2 weeks. Make sure that you're really saving everything that you're working on. And that goes for also things that are physical outside of like digital landscape too, like making sure that you put things away, things don't get lost, that kind of stuff. But it just really feels like that just felt very prominent and very specific, so keep that in mind. I also saw like soy here, which makes me think like maybe something about food. Made me think of like going to a different kind of restaurant. Maybe you're going out to dinner, or you're gonna maybe try different recipes over the next 2 weeks, or trying something new on that. I also saw go, which made me think of Monopoly. Like, so maybe you are getting a bit of a bonus, or there's a little bit of an extra tip that you might get over the next 2 weeks, like you passed go, you know what I mean? It also makes me think too that you might just be like go over the next 2 weeks. So there's just either a lot of places you need to go, or there's a lot of errands you need to run, or you just have like a lot of steps in a project you're trying to work on. If you're feeling really resonating to that one, feel free to check out pile 1 as well. Also see savvy, I guess, here too, like being tech savvy. I almost saw like Yu-Gi-Oh over here as well. I'm seeing some interesting, like I have not thought of Yu-Gi-Oh in years. But maybe you guys are gamers, or you guys are into, like Pokemon right now, or things like that. Maybe there's something happening there, or something just in general in a fandom that you're very much a part of. If you're into fandom culture or things like that, that maybe there's something that is coming out, like a new trailer or a new exciting event, or that you don't want to miss, or you want to you might be excited about. So those are the things that are showing up most for me. I feel like the save file was the one that was coming out most, but we will see as we continue to move forward. We're going to be looking at your numbers as well. So the next thing to look at with the numbers is any significant dates, repeating numbers, spiritual angel numbers, or we can also look into the numerological side of this, or the colors that accompany them, and see what you got coming forward. I also just noticed like an SVG file as well. So there's just like a lot of file names coming forward being really important. But let's go ahead and pull the numbers as well. Felt like they didn't want to chat. Sometimes I feel like I'm mixing them up, and I feel like I need to pull like 12, and then sometimes it's like, nope, this is all you need. So we've got like the 18th maybe being an important significant date. So these don't have to necessarily be dates that have already passed, depending on when you're watching this. It could also be something that's in the past that was just significant then and is impacting your next 2 weeks. So feel free to see if the 8th or the 10th was important for you as well. The 8th, or the 8 in this case, is showing up as black, as well as the 10 with blue. Blue is a good calming color, at least to me. And so for this, with 10 being a number of usually something completing or finishing, it represents something that feels like you might be finishing up a project, or finishing up something that you've been working on, or just feeling like relaxed because something has finished in some way. And the 8 just feels like a date. I really feel like the 8th was just important in some way. So feel free to see how that comes forward for each of you. And we're going to move to your next part of the reading, where we're going to pull a significant card to look into the major themes and energies on their way in for you. And we're specifically just pulling one card for this, so we can really, see the purest or the most important message to come forward that overarches everything else for the rest of the reading. So let's see what that is for you over the next 2 weeks. The major theme and energy coming forward for group 2. Ooh, Page of Wands, nice. The Adventurer, at least that's how I always see them. They're a very adventurous personality or person in this case. So it could be that someone that you're meeting up with is very adventurous and really impacting your next 2 weeks. So that could be like a child that makes you feel very adventurous and creative and fun and silly even. This could represent a traveler, someone you're meeting up with, someone who traveled to see you. You can also see this as, just like I said, not just necessarily being a person in your life, but how you are personally approaching, right? If this is a major theme, it can also be just how you're approaching the next 2 weeks is from a place of adventure, from creativity, of getting a little bit outside of your element, trying out new things, like with the soy sauce that I saw earlier. Maybe you guys are, use soy sauce all the time, but like trying out different cultured foods, different cultures, different ways of thinking, putting on different hats, getting a little bit creative and a little bit adventurous in some way. And I think that that's a great way to approach your next 2 weeks, or you're just going to feel a little bit more adventurous over the next 2 weeks. Maybe you just feel like, especially here in the northern hemisphere, as we are moving closer to spring, maybe you feel like you have a little bit more of a hop in your step, or you feel like things are starting to move again, and there could just be like the ball is starting to roll on stuff. So let's go ahead and see the more detailed part of the reading, where we're going to be pulling some charms on the charm mat here, as well as some tarot tiles. If you guys are interested in learning more on how to use charms yourself, I have an entire video up here that you can check out on charm casting and how to create your own set. But if you already have your own set and you use charms, and you're interested in getting your own charm mat or charm cloth that's specific to you and how you utilize your charms and set up your charm readings, then definitely feel free to reach out, because I'd love to do different patterns and different embroidery for you to create your own custom charm casting mat or cloth. So feel free to reach out if that's something you're interested in case you are interested in that side of things. But we're going to be using this specific mat today. Anything that falls here in the center is going to be related to that adventurous Page of Wands energy. Anything that falls here on the left of this line is going to be on week 1, and the right is week 2. And then we'll talk about the moons for timing and energy if they show up. So let's go ahead and start first with the tarot tiles. So feel free as always to connect with these first, and I will pull some for you all. Ooh, immediately off the bat, that one was like... I think that's all we need. Sometimes my brain wants to pull more so we can get more information, but it can sometimes muddy up the reading. So we're just going to take these and we'll see what they are here in a moment. But let's pull some charms to get the extra little details here. So let's see what you get here for the charms. Okay, not a ton. I feel like your entire reading has felt very reserved. Like it's wanting to give us the purest, just like very specific details and not like over, I felt like I didn't need to pull any more of these, didn't need to pull more numbers, didn't need to pull too many charms. So we're going to see how that translates to the rest of the reading. It almost makes me think too that maybe you're a bit more reserved, even though you have this adventurous spirit. Maybe you're not wanting to share that with everyone, or you don't want to have all of your details about the adventures that you're going on, spread out to everyone. So there is sort of a reservation or reserved or hesitant feeling that's coming up a little bit here. What else do you have? You have here in the center, I think this is more week 2, here in the center relating to that adventurous spirit and creative spirit, you have the celebration charm, because it says celebrator here at the bottom. So sometimes it can be related to feeling adventurous because of a celebration, or maybe there's a bigger event that's happening and that's a reason why you're feeling a little bit more adventurous. But the mountain goat is more of what I'm kind of looking at here, which can represent a couple of different things. I usually see it as either needing to climb a mountain to try to, get to the other side of something that you're trying to, have an uphill battle with. But the mountain goat is very efficient at being able to climb mountains, right? They're very efficient. They find their way around. So it does seem like there's a bit of a confidence in you over the next 2 weeks. But also the mountain goat in general, just because it kind of looks like a statue, always makes me think of the 6 of Wands. And the 6 of Wands represents being recognized for that the efforts that you're putting in. So it feels like there's a recognizing feeling to this. So maybe that's the reason, the reason that you're celebrating something, because someone is recognizing your gifts and values and talents and the way that you approach the world. And it does seem like someone is, whether it's like a big event that you're being celebrated for with like a birthday or a work thing or something else, or if it's something very small and mundane that just happens where it just really, touches you in some way, a nice comment or a really nice gesture of someone recognizing your efforts and recognizing, the effort that you're putting in towards something that you're either getting more creative with or towards something that you're feeling a little bit more adventurous on could be related. But regardless, I just feel like you're being recognized for your efforts, values, and talents over the next 2 weeks, which is really nice to see. Here for week 1, you have these 2 clips that are showing up here. And I think it's interesting that they even fell side by side. So we've got like the little lobster claw clip and then like more of the circle related clip. So this usually represents like cycles that are really hard to break, that you're really having a hard time. It feels fiddly. And then the claw usually represents like someone else, like an outside influence that feels like they're like clawing on you, and trying to hold you back from something. So you might find that you're kind of stuck in a repeated behavior in the first week, or in a relationship that just feels a little stuck. It's going through the same loops, the same cycles. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, although it could be. Kind of feels work related for some reason, maybe because we're looking at so many more adventurous and I was thinking about work events earlier, but regardless, it seems in the first week that maybe you're feeling like something is a little strained in a relationship because maybe you're both trying to do 2 different things and you're both kind of clawing at each other trying to figure it out. So there might be a little bit of a compromise needed in the first week, or a behavior change, an action needed and taken with a relationship in the first week. Then you also have the fake coin here. This is like fake money, and you have next to it the World card, although you had it go upside down, which represents a really interesting message, because earlier, like I said, with the go, the feeling of like the Monopoly board with the go and you're passing go, maybe you're getting an extra little tip or an extra little like financial boost of some sort. Because it's the fake money and it's showing up next to sort of a go energy here with the World card of something finishing and completing, it kind of feels like it's telling me that in the first week it's not necessarily financial based. It feels like it's something that you're like literally getting a tip, like someone's telling you a tip or how to work through something, or maybe a resource is going to fall into your hands that you really need, a tool that you really need, or something like that that's going to kind of fall into your lap that might be really useful and helpful to you, that isn't necessarily financial based here in the first week. As for the second week, I'll go ahead and zoom you out a little bit. You have the can opener charm. So this represents like, a can of worms opening, or something that needs to be said opening. And that's showing up here over by the Queen of Pentacles, as well as the 7 of Pentacles. And when I'm looking at these two, they feel very resourceful. It seems like what is a can of worms that's opening feels mostly related to this 7 of Pentacles. And the 7 of Pentacles showcases, as you can see, this person is like looking over their crops. They're trying to get something to grow, but it's kind of like watching paint dry, or trying to watch a pot before it boils, and it's like it's never gonna boil if you watch the pot, or whatever the message is. A pot of water never boils if you're watching it. I forget the exact phrasing, but regardless, the point is, it feels like if you're working on a project or you're trying to get something moving in the first week, if you just keep watching it, over-analyzing it, ruminating on it, if it's not even a project, although it does feel related to something very physical, like a project you're working on in your house, or a physical change, or whatever it is, or even related to health, if you feel like you're constantly watching it, trying to monitor it, trying to figure it out, it seems like if you go about that approach, it's only going to make things more difficult for you, and it's going to, you're just going to worry and kind of suffer through it. So I would say that maybe closing that can of worms for a bit could be actually useful to you, to kind of take a little bit of a breather, do some more mindful activities, or allow yourself to just do something else for a little while, and watching it isn't necessarily going to be your best approach. Here for the second week as well, you also have the transformation charm, because this used to be the handle of a spoon and now it's been transformed into a pendant. So it feels like, taking something and recycling it, reusing it, readjusting it in some way. And that's related to your mindset, because this is definitely a mindset card with the 4 of Cups. It represents usually someone who is very kind of pessimistic, or they're going through something, they're just staring at those cups and they're like, ugh, everything sucks, I feel bad, and someone's trying to offer you some help, trying to help in some way, and you keep pushing the offering away, or you keep not even noticing that someone's trying to help you through a situation. And so it really feels like, or even helping yourself in some way. So it feels like transforming your mindset or your mood about something in the second week is really important. And especially with the things that we talked about earlier, it does feel like maybe you just have some worry or anxiety, or you have something that you're trying to work on and you're just feeling frustrated that it isn't happening as fast as you want it to. And a mindset shift or a perspective shift might be really useful in the second week. So overall, those are all of the cards and charms that I have here for you for the next 2 weeks. I do hope that this has been useful and helpful, and as always, if it has been, definitely be sure to give this video a like and let me know in the comments down below what you saw. If there was something different or another way in which you approach the charms or the cards, I'd love to hear. And if you're interested in these pick a card readings, I put out new readings every single Monday, so if you're interested, feel free to subscribe. Not only do I put out pick a card readings, but I also sprinkle in art, magic, and charm casting videos as well, for how to learn and grow in those skills. So if that's something you're interested in, then definitely feel free, as I said, to subscribe. And also, if you're interested in supporting this space as well as supporting yourself through getting your own custom charm mat, your own custom magical stamps that I hand carve, rubber stamps for you to use in your art, magic, or your rituals, or if you're interested in the spell and ritual papers that I create, or the snail mail readings that I send out through the mail to you, then definitely feel free to reach out and check out all the information down below in my Instagram and through my link tree. So with that all said, thank you so much for being here with me today, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello group 3, if you've decided to choose this little, I believe, a Monstera leaf or leaf in general, then this is the pile for you, as we are going to be exploring your next 2 weeks. We're going to be doing it with the charms, the numbers, the letter tiles, the tarot tiles, and the Modern Witch Tarot, which I'll have, as always, all of this listed down below in the description in case you're curious or you want to reference. But we are going to get right on into it by starting out first with your letters and numbers. But as always, feel free to use your own intuition, feel free to connect and call in your own guides if you'd like to, and call in your own intuition, like I said, because I like to co-create these readings with you all, and there's always going to be things that, especially with these charm readings, that you're going to notice and pick up on that I'm not going to notice because it's very personal and unique to you. So feel free to see how that connects for you and how you can connect the dots with me and your own intuition. But we are going to get started first with the letter tiles, and the letter tiles are going to be looking into any initials or names that you can spell out, but also into oracle messages, the ways in which your communication style might be going and showing up over the next 2 weeks, and anything else. So let's go ahead and start with these first. Feel free as always to connect with each of the different supplies and tools that we use here today so that they can have a conversation with you. But let's go ahead and pull some for you here today for the next 2 weeks. Ooh, you got a lot. Very different compared to the last pile where it was very minimal. So I'm curious to see what y'all get. So we've got G, J, N, L, and I, as well as another letter with A. Then you have R, I, N, and D. You have Nil showing up here. I first thought of like Nile, like the Nile River. But because you didn't get an E showing up here, maybe Nil is related to it. Like you don't have as much flow, or it feels like things aren't flowing as easily or as progressively over the next 2 weeks. Because like I said, it's like the Nile isn't, providing as much as you'd like it to. You also, like as in nil, like nothing. You also have a lot of like, you don't have a lot of vowels to work with. We only have 3 with I, and A, and a lot of consonants. So whenever I see this like imbalance here, especially with such a large amount of them on the other side with consonants versus vowels, it tells me a lot about how you might be communicating over the next 2 weeks. And you might find that you are very direct, very blunt, to the point, or very like you're not as tender or compassionate necessarily with your words. Or if they are compassionate, like I said, they're very like to the point, direct. You're not going to say it like with as much fluff around it. So when I'm looking at these, it tells me that like that might be the way that you're communicating or approaching your communication on a larger scale over the next 2 weeks. And that's something to consider if you want to be more compassionate or you want to be more tender with your words, or if you find in certain situations that it can be really helpful because it means you're putting down boundaries, you're not fluffing around things, you're being very direct and honest and truthful and to the point. And some people, and in some situations, that's very useful and helpful. So it can go either way, but it's something to be sort of considering over the next 2 weeks, so that you're aware of the way that you're kind of coming off. And if you want to come off in a certain way and you're having a harder time, then that might be where that disconnect is coming in. You've got like a lot of little words that you can write here with like nil, did, din, gin, rid, got like Dan and yeah, just like lots of little tiny words that you can write here, but I'm not feeling like super connected to really any of them other than maybe like rid and sort of nil that we had earlier. So it really feels like maybe you also are purging things, like letting things go, trying to maybe do a bit of a spring cleaning or something like that over the next 2 weeks, whether it's like spring cleaning your house, or if it's like spring cleaning through the files on your computer, or you're trying to even just clean your mind in some way. There's something that maybe you're trying to work on in that way, but we've got rid and nil, so like we're trying to get rid of things or donate things or let things go. So that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting here. And you even chose the leaf too, which makes me think of like fall and leaves falling, letting things go that you no longer need or need to hold on to. So those are the big ones that I got here, but of course you have a lot of letters here, so feel free to see if there's something else coming forward for you. But we're gonna just see what else is coming forward with your numbers now. So similar to the letters, the numbers are going to be showcasing to us any specific significant dates or any angel numbers that are coming forward, repeating numbers that are important, or we can also look into the details of numerology, or looking into the specific colors on each of them. So lots of different ways to look at these, but we'll go ahead and pull some for you. So you have 3, 2, and 13. So 3 and 13 are both in blue, which are usually it's like, to me at least, blue is a very calming and settling color, and orange with the 2 over here is a very fast moving, very fiery, go-getter kind of energy. So when it comes to 2 within your relationships, you might feel like your relationships are very fired up or very it can go either way, right? Sometimes it means a lot of passion and desire and excitement and fun and creativity within different relationships. But it can also go the flip side, right, where it can be kind of more dangerous or seem very like hot-headed. So these are things to consider as well when it comes to those boundaries that we were talking about, the way in which you communicate, how your communication comes off, or how other people are communicating with you as well. You also have, like I said, that blue calming energy with 3 and 13. 3 is usually a very collaborative number of like, working with a team or a community, and maybe something is just feeling like it's ending. Maybe there's almost like a bittersweet feeling to these numbers, where it feels like maybe you're feeling a little bit bittersweet because you're maybe not being able to see a community or a team as much, or maybe that because 13 usually represents an ending of some sort. So it feels like you're maybe finishing a project or finishing something up, completing something with other people, where it's either very bittersweet or it just feels very calming, like, okay, we've finished, we did what we need to do, we're going to move forward. Maybe you're going separate ways, or maybe you're coming back together for something new, but there is sort of just like a completion that feels really calming and relaxing, and like a fresh breeze or something like that. It feels really nice. So those are the numbers that I'm seeing here and what I'm seeing from them, but you can also see them as significant dates and others. So feel free to have a little look-see at those for a little longer. But we're going to move to the tarot cards. We're going to be pulling more with the tarot sort of charms in a moment, but we're going to pull one card from here to see a very significant energy that's coming forward for you for the next 2 weeks. This is like the overarching energy, the energy most, like it's coming up most over the next 2 weeks that we really need to focus on. So what is that focused and direct energy coming forward over the next 2 weeks for you? So you got the Eight of Pentacles over here flying out right from the start. So the Eight of Pentacles is a card all about, as you can see, this person is like really working and honing in on their craft. A lot of the time this can be, as you can see, they kind of just look like an illustrator or someone who is at their workspace, but it can be a hobby that you're working on, a skill that you're learning. It can be something in business or something in the workplace, but it really feels like you're really honing in on some sort of skill learning. And it feels like, as you can see with these Eight of Pentacles, they've done it many, many times. So they're really repeating and trying and trial and erroring and seeing what works for them. It kind of is it feels like you're really practicing and honing in on some sort of craft or skill. So this is just sort of, again, the way that you're maybe approaching the next 2 weeks as well, is that you're really working on your skills, maybe your communication skills, maybe it's art, maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's something in the workplace. It kind of just is up to you, and we'll see with the rest of the charms here in a minute. But it does seem like you're really honing in on something, and maybe that's the reason why you had that like purging energy as well, is because as you practice and hone in on your skills, you kind of let go of some of the things that become habits or rituals that we don't need anymore, and rather you're trying to focus on rituals that would maybe be more enriching or useful to you at this time in your life, something that is worth working and practicing on. So let's go ahead and see what you got coming in for those charms. So we're going to be pulling some charms and putting them here on the charm mat. If you are interested in getting your own charm mat, and if this is something that you'd like because you work with charms yourself and maybe you have a particular kind of style of charm casting that you'd like a more custom mat for, feel free to reach out to me because I love embroidery and I love adding in that art magic element to these. So feel free to reach out if that's something you're interested in. I can do different designs and different ways of which I can put them together, so feel free to let me know. But the one that we're using here today is going to be showcasing anything that falls here in the center, more on that Eight of Pentacles energy, more on those main themes. Anything that falls on the left to this line is going to be related to week 1, anything on the right, week 2, and then we'll talk about the moons for timing or the energy of the moons if anything falls on them. So let's start out first with the tarot tiles. So for these, we're going to be working with them in more of those big picture ways, and then we'll get the details with the charms overlaid. So feel free to really connect with the charms in here, and we'll pull some, or the cards, we'll pull some for you. So we're gonna get the details and then I will zoom in so you can really see everything. But feel free to have a little conversation with these first, and I will pull some for you as well. Felt like there was one more charm in there. Let's go ahead and pull you in and see what you got going on. Okay, so to accompany that Eight of Pentacles energy, you have a couple of other things showing up here in the center. These feel more related to, well, maybe not, because that one keeps moving its way back. So these ones are in the center, week 1, week 2. So you got the heart. So we talked about relationships earlier where it felt like maybe, things were very fiery and passionate or very fired up in some way with relationships. And it could be related to an ex, because you did get the ex charm. This also can represent like hidden treasure as well, but because you have the relationship feeling here, it could just be that you're feeling really tied up in a relationship right now. You also have the defense charm or card of the Nine of Wands, as well as the hanged one charm. So I'm seeing all of these together as definitely more of the latter side of a passionate relationship, where again, it can be very passionate, very exciting, very lots of desire, lots of fun. This doesn't have to be romance, but it does feel romantic with the ex, but it can be related to an ex-friend that's reaching back out, or some sort of situation there where it just feels like a relationship is just kind of going through a lot of turmoil, and maybe there is a fresh new perspective needed, because you did get the hanged one, and the hanged one represents needing to kind of put down boundaries, kind of with the 9 in relation to it, but it feels like you need to put down boundaries, or kind of slow things down, temper things a little bit, because it feels like you kind of are feeling a little bit like overwhelmed by it, whether it's really, really good passion, or if it feels like, again, someone sneaking back into your life, an ex in some way, and those feelings are coming back in, maybe protecting yourself, reminding yourself, having a little bit of a moment to like hold yourself back here and be like, okay, wait, do I need to reach back out? Do I need to talk to them? Does this need to happen? And it could be an ex-family member as well. It doesn't have to be in that passionate way that we were talking about earlier, but just in general, someone who you're not in communication with all the time anymore that you were in the past. Seems like you need to like take a little bit of a break, a little bit of a breather before reaching out or reconnecting in some way, if you decide to at all, because they might just kind of find their way back into your life in a way that would be more destructive or not as useful to you. So that's something to consider over the next 2 weeks. Here in the first week, you have a couple of different things. This one falls on both weeks with the 2 of Pentacles, which represents you're trying to kind of balance things out. There's a bit of balancing, a little bit of readjusting over both of the 2 weeks. You also had the Snake fall on both of the 2 weeks, and the snake represents a lot of the time like shedding their skin, right? They're shedding their skin. There's some sort of letting something go. So if I'm seeing these two together over the next 2 weeks, that feeling again of purging, letting things go, ridding yourself of an old skin or stepping into a new fresh skin is really important. But something to consider, right, when it comes to shedding your old skin, is that you then have very sensitive new skin that is there. If you think of like sort of the vulnerability that creatures have that will shed a shell or shed a skin, right, that feeling just after makes you more vulnerable, and that's maybe the reason why you need these boundaries. Maybe that's the reason why you feel like you got to readjust things and rebalance things, is because when you let some things go, it's very easy to just put in the same stuff you let go right back into your life. And so whether that's people, whether that's behaviors, whether those are actions that you're taking, this is a time to kind of slow down and really consider what you're letting back into your life or letting back into your space while you're in sort of this shedding of skin phase. You also have the eraser showing up here, and the SD card, and this specific SD card is only 32 megabytes, so it's a very small space. So it tells me too that this usually represents discernment, and the fact that you have it next to the eraser, again, it feels like the purging is happening in the first week for sure. There's so much showing up here of like spring cleaning, letting things go, purging things from your life that are no longer needed, behaviors, people, situations, so that you can really refine things back down to what's important to you. There also is a couple of other things happening in the second week. These are both kind of skirting the second week, which makes me feel like it's kind of related to like a week even after. But you have the King of Wands, as well as this, I need to just put a new one in here, it's gotten so grubby, but it's like a little paper star. But this little paper star makes me think of like origami, or putting yourself into like trying to kind of put yourself into a shape that doesn't necessarily fit, or it feels like you're having to like really fold yourself up into a certain shape. And In this case, it feels like maybe a leadership position that might show up in like the second, third week that you're feeling, especially because you got the King of Pentacles too. I just realized that. So you've got both kings of the King of Pentacles and the King of Wands. So it feels like maybe you're having to put yourself in a leadership position in maybe trying to take lead in your own life, or being a bit more of an individual in your own life, trying to depend on yourself a little bit more, apart from specific relationships or behaviors that you've been doing in the past. And maybe because you've purged certain things, you now have to kind of take that charge, and it's putting yourself in a position that feels very foreign, or you're having to put yourself in a new shell, and it's going to feel a little bit more uncomfortable afterwards. So that's something to consider as well. But I do think that it's going to benefit you if you step into these leadership positions, taking lead in your own life. But I do think that it's not going to feel the most comfortable at the start. So those are all of the charms and cards that I have here for you for the next 2 weeks / 3 weeks for you, group 3. If you found this video useful and helpful to you, definitely be sure to give this video a like, and let me know in the comments down below if you saw something different, if you saw something else. Maybe this was more buried treasure for you, or you literally saw this as more of a hopeful message of the star. There's lots of different ways to interpret these, so feel free to see if there's something else. And if you are interested in these pick a card readings, I put out new readings every single Monday, as well as sprinkling in some charm casting and art magic videos when I get the chance. So definitely feel free to subscribe if that's something you're interested in, or check out the other videos on the channel. And if you want to support this space as well as support yourself through a snail mail reading, or through spell and ritual papers that I hand create, through getting your own custom charm mat or custom magical art magic stamps that I hand carve myself, then feel free to check out all the information on those down below, as well as other offerings that I have through my Linktree and through my Instagram. Lots of helpful reviews over there. And if you're curious and you don't want to go over there, feel free to just reach out and I'll send information out to you. So with that all said, I'm going to go ahead and close off this reading. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye.